comments about the show we did with Bennett that was on with us, and that was great. And my nephew Patrick was with me the other night, and we were hanging out, and he was telling me all about seeing him and hoping to see Danielle. But of course, Danielle was, getting everything ready and wasn't quite dressed, so she didn't want to be on screen. But it was cool to be able to show you my grandson. He is now 8 months old. He'll be 9 months on September 18th, which is pretty cool. That's a great date. And I say all this because today's topic is choosing to learn. Choosing to learn. It's so amazing to watch Bennett learn how his hands work. He's been lunging a lot with his legs, but he's learning how to step up, stand up, hang on to furniture, walk around, and you could just see how everything registers with him. He's learning about his voice. He's learning about hand gestures. He imitates his mom a lot with his hand gestures. Milk. He knows how to say what he wants, and it's very cool because when you watch a child learn, they're learning basic things. They're learning how their body works. They're learning how their mind works. They're learning, about everything in their environment. They're like sponges. They're just learning and learning. They're feeling the teeth come in now for him. And so it's just fun for me at 64 years old to be reminded about the power of learning, the power of choosing to learn each and every day. And so when I work with people, a lot of times people will face adversity or fail at something, and it depresses them. It makes them sad. And, it makes them sad to think that, they were inadequate in some way, that they failed at something. So it's just amazing to me to remind people, and I'm always reminded to remind people that we can learn through adversity. We can learn when we fail. It's important that we do. I mean, I remember my younger days when I prepare for the football season. I would work out. I would work out by running. I would work out by stretching. I would work out by doing the skills required. I was a quarterback in high school, so I'd work out by throwing. And then, of course, I'd go to the gym and I would lift. And the beautiful thing about lifting is that what your limits are, and you can put so much weight on a bar, and then you press it, or you lift it, or you curl it, whatever it might be, and you find out if you're getting stronger. You find out how strong you are. And it's important that you kind of test the limits on a regular basis, because the beautiful thing about being human is that we can learn, and that we can grow. In fact, in the Hebrew, it's just such a beautiful thing, because the word for heart, which is also kind of a reference, it's not about just the organ in your chest, the blood pump, but it's also refers to your spirit, in a sense, your heart, your spirit. If you have heart, you have spirit, right? And so the idea is that in the Hebrew, the word is leb, and that first letter, the L sound, refers to learning. And then the second letter, the B sound, refers to the house. So in fact, the heart is the learning house. And so whenever I, think of it in the morning, and I try to, think about, journal about, write things down, purpose to learn on a daily basis, go back through my day, go back through my week. Last week I went to see my dad. My dad is in a memory care facility right now, and I wanted to learn for myself what condition he is in. So I set up, I'm going to go back again a week from today, and I'm going to meet with the caregivers, the nurses and the people that determine his care, and find out what his limits are, find out what they are compensating for, how they're treating him, what symptoms he has. And so every day I'm thinking about what information can I gather? But it's not just about information only. I want to assess, my own limits and then my responsibilities for my dad or for my grandson. I want to assess what my availability is. I want to assess so that I can perform, so that I can be available, so that I can be available on purpose, all these things. So always being a little bit more conscious of what I'm learning. Today I'm going to meet some friends that I played football with in college, and we're going to play a little golf, and we're going to hang out, and I'm going to find out what they're up to. And I'm going to connect that to other things I'm doing in my life, either to facilitate them. Last week I met with a young man, 21 years old, who is looking for a new job. He's just back from Denmark. Very, very smart young guy. Good looking, smart, all that good stuff. Friend of mine's son. And so, I listen to learn, and I listen really with a caring ear, and that helps me to learn, helps me to remember, helps me to think about where connections might be made. And then, of course, as I said at the top, I said, when I have this mentality, when adversity hits, or when I fail, or when I come up short, I don't take it 100% as a setback or permanent for sure. I don't think of it as permanent. I think of it more as I can get stronger. Do I need to read something? Do I need to call a friend and ask questions and maybe get an assessment as to what I did wrong? It's funny because in another area, I'm just kind of walking you through my life here because I apply these things every day. I'm working in the prison system in Mississippi, and there are two directors that both spent time in Angola. When I say they spent time, they were inmates there. They were there for, both of them were in over 20 years. But now that they're out, they have determined to dedicate their lives to the service of other inmates, of other prisoners. And so they have moved from Louisiana, where they'd served time at Angola, and now they're at Parchman and Jackson. And Jackson is the capital of Mississippi, and that's the larger prison. And then Parchman is a famous prison. You may see documentaries about that. And, if you go out and you look at the different streaming services, and you can see what's going on in these prisons and all that. But I'm telling you this because I'm working with these two people that spent 20, 25 years plus in these prisons, and we are working on systems to serve the full community of those prisons. Now, as you might imagine, I never went to jail. Both these guys are black. Both these guys are younger than me. They're in their 50s, I think 50s or late 40s. And their perspective, their experience, their education is not the same as mine. But at the same time, in a lot of ways, it's more appropriate. It's more direct to what we're trying to do. So every conversation I have with these men, rather than looking at it like, hey, I have an Ivy League education, I've been educated on Wall Street, etc. I don't think of it that way. I think of it in a more immediate sense that I should be learning from them. They're asking me questions about approaches and stuff, and then I bring my opinions, I bring my experience, my education to bear, and my people skills, etc. But at the same time, I'm always purposing to learn. So let's review a little bit on this. It's important that every time you fail, you take time to ask the question, what did I learn? Okay, very important. Now because when you fail, a lot of times you want to quit. But when you ask the question, what did I learn? Then you realize that with a little bit of effort, with a little bit of exercise, whether it's mental or physical or spiritual or emotional, a little bit of application of how do I get stronger? How do I get faster? How do I become more sensitive? aware? How can I develop more finesse, more subtlety? How can I do the things to accomplish my goals so that I don't fail next time? And you think about it and you journal, and that gives you the ability to stay resilient, stay in the game, get back up. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's just that you have to get knocked up again. That's a cliche, but at the same time, when you're always looking to learn, and you should never be sad or depressed when you learn your limits, right? When you learn your emotional limits, or you learn your financial limits, or you learn the limit of a relationship. Rather than saying good, bad, that's bad, they're a bad person, you say, what did I learn? How can I make it better? How can I get stronger? How can I, go through this on a regular basis? So I've learned, in my walk, in my life, whether it was on the commodities trading floor, whether it was playing ball at Yale, or whether it was working in the prisons or with the Navajo Nation or down in Cuba, I always remember that every interaction I'm going to learn something. And when I say I remember, I purpose to remember. I purpose to, and what that does for you, a lot of times what it does for you is it puts you in a respectful place, because you're now the student, right? And you're asking questions. You actually are interested in what the person you're interacting with knows. So learning helps you to overcome adversity. And when you fail, it helps you to keep moving forward and to build and get stronger. But learning also puts you in the right state of mind to respect your coworker, to respect a new relationship, to respect somebody that you may in your mind think you're more developed than. But when you're always coming into that situation and you have the attitude that I'm going to learn something from this child. My grandson is teaching me. My daughter is teaching me. Okay, she's 30 years old. She's a doctor, right? So she's learned a lot. She knows a lot of things I don't know. I'll never know, right? And so I'm always learning. And then I come across, or I interact, the exchange that I have with them is always extremely respectful. It's not deferential, because I have stuff to offer too. You have stuff to offer too. It's just more that I'm going to take something away from this. I'm going to grow through every exchange I have today. And then what I do late in the day is I'll take some time to go back and forth in my mind and on paper, and kind of, what did I learn today? What did I learn today? I teach a lot from the Bible. I'm a pastor in New York City, and so I teach a lot. And a lot of times when I put my notes together and I prepare a hour-long presentation, I have an outline and I have thoughts that I want to put together and string together in an organized fashion. But while I'm presenting, oftentimes something fresh will come to my mind, and that's, for me, it's, when I say fresh, it's new to me, right? Like the combinations come together, and something fresh and new comes to me. And then when I see something either in the scripture, or I see something in the reaction of the congregation, the people that are listening, or sometimes it's even just, I could tell that I'm learning while I'm speaking. It's very, very cool. And when you purpose to learn, and when you purpose to take that as your approach, then I'm going to tell you, right, you're going to learn a lot more. I always tell people, the more thankful you are, the more you're going to have to be thankful for. I tell people that all the time. It really helps them, because it's true. You get good at something, you get to do it a lot, right? And it's the same thing with learning. I'm going to learn today. I'm going to learn in every interaction. I'm going to learn in every failure, in every obstacle. So I want to thank you for joining us at Morning Motivations. I hope this helped you. I hope that you continue to tune in. I want to say hi to my family. played golf with Tom Mueller last week, and he said, "I watch you. I like those morning motivations, and it's great. They're motivational." He says, "I watch them all the way through. It's great." He doesn't watch them every week, probably, but he catches them from time to time. And I want to encourage you, if you have something that you're struggling with, if you have an obstacle in your life, or you're just dealing with an emotion, or you're dealing with a situation that you'd like to think through, what I'll do is, if you send that topic to me and you communicate with us, then I'll think about it. I'll pray about it. I'll journal about it, and then I'll teach about it. And I believe that I'll have an insight that may help you just in the dialogue a lot of times, you know. So thanks again for tuning in. You watched Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton.